Skip the introduction, because today we are diving straight into the fire. Forget every moral concept you were taught about restraint, about piety, and the polite division between heaven and hell.
Yeah, throw it all out.
We are cracking open a text that is, it's a philosophical earthquake, a radical manifesto that tries to reconcile opposites with, frankly, startling violence.
And that's putting it mildly.
We are deep diving into William Blake's 1790 masterpiece, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell.
It is a text that is just fundamentally anti-establishment. I mean, Blake is positing a world where the heroes are the ones who've been cast out into devils.
Right.
And where the entire structure of traditional law of religion is built on, well, errors, misinterpretations, and just plain suppression.
So our mission today is to get into that vision.
Yeah.
To understand why Blake insists that the deepest source of life is found in what conventional society calls evil.
Precisely. We're going to unpack a vision where God and Satan are completely inverted, and where the most revolutionary figures, including Jesus Christ himself, achieve greatness not through obedience, but through impulse.
Through breaking sacred law.
Exactly. So if you want a shortcut to understanding, radical critical thinking, prepare to question everything you thought you knew about divinity, desire, and the eternal nature of the soul.
Okay, let's unpack this foundational thesis right away. Blake doesn't ease you into this at all.
Not at all. He just drops it on you.
He starts with this startling statement: without contraries is no progression. And that tension, that necessary conflict, is the engine of his entire universe.
Exactly. For Blake, this isn't a problem to be solved. It's the very condition of existence. You can't have movement, you can't have evolution, or any kind of progress without the friction generated by these opposing forces.
And he lays them out, doesn't he? These essential pairs.
He does. Attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate, they all have to coexist.
So if we just eliminate one side, we don't get harmony. We get stagnation.
That's it. Pure stagnation. So the big question Blake is asking is, if these contraries are so necessary, how did institutional religion build an entire structure based on the idea of, getting rid of one side?
Right. How did they justify that?
Well, that's the core challenge he issues. The traditional religious dichotomy, according to him, is just a complete misreading of this cosmic truth. It tries to elevate one side and suppress the other.
Creating this false moral hierarchy.
A false hierarchy, yeah. And we had to completely redefine good and evil to understand it.
So what does that look like in Blake's inverted system?
Well, good becomes the passive element. It's the part that submits to restraint, to reason, which Blake then associates with heaven.
Okay, so good is passive.
And conversely, evil gets redefined as the active element. It's the vital force that springs from unbridled energy. And that is what he associates with hell.
So if I'm following this correctly, the desire to be good, to be passive and obedient, is actually an aspiration toward inertia.
Exactly. And evil, the energetic, demanding, passionate force, is the true source of all vitality in creation.
That is a fundamental inversion.
It is. He argues that historically, the priest, or what he calls the cunning man, has always tried to suppress that active, energetic half, the so-called evil, because that energy resists control. It challenges authority.
So by suppressing it, they get stability, but they sacrifice life itself.
They sacrifice vitality in the process, and the implication for you, the listener, is immediate. Your attempts at self-restraint, your adherence to external law, they might be fundamentally damaging your own life force.
And before he even gets into the devil's philosophy, he sets the stage with this poetic section, with Rintrah.
Yeah, Rintrah is this figure of righteous prophetic wrath. He's described as roaring and throwing his fires. He's the active principle in motion.
It's a crucial bridge, isn't it? Because Blake says Rintrah, the just man, was once mild and just, and he traveled this dangerous, difficult path.
Right, which implies that original virtue was found on the hard, non-conforming route. But then, something happens to that path.
It gets domesticated. The dangerous path becomes a common road, with roses planted along it. The danger is gone.
It's been institutionalized. It's been made easy. And this is the moment of crisis. The wicked man, who is walking the easy paths of convention, he decides to abandon them and actively drive the once just person Rintrah out into the wilderness.
And that act of oppression forces the prophet to embrace rage.
Exactly. Rintrah, now enraged, is fully enacting the power of the active principle. He's forced back onto those dangerous paths, but now he walks them with this prophetic rage.
And meanwhile, Blake gives us this counter-image of the wicked man's behavior. It's so insidious.
It is. The serpent, which is usually the symbol of rebellion, is now gliding subtly with rare humility. Blake is explicitly flipping the script.
So true passion is just, and the sly meekness is the new face of evil.
It's a justification for revolutionary passion against the forces of passive oppressive law. And it provides the context for his prophetic announcement.
Right, the new heaven, that's starting 33 years after its birth.
And crucially, that eternal hell is revived. This isn't just a cycle, it's a liberation from the old moral framework.
And he pulls in Isaiah, chapters 34 and 35, the reign of Edom, and Adam returning to paradise.
The reference to Edom is so important. Biblically, Edom is the wild, rugged land. It's Esau's land, the brother who rejected civilization for the hunt. Its return signifies the reassertion of the untamed, energetic side of existence.
So the rage of Rintrah isn't a moral failing.
No, it's the sign that the divine active force is reasserting itself against inertia. It's the sign that progression is finally starting again.
That foundation of necessary conflict sets us up perfectly for the ultimate rejection of conventional theology, the voice of the devil.
This is it. This is where he stops suggesting and just starts delivering.
It's pure revolutionary philosophy, articulating all the foundational errors of Holy Scriptures. If you want to understand desire in Blake's mind, this is the place to start.
The devil speaks, and the first blow lands squarely against the traditional idea of a separate body and soul.
Right. Western religion for millennia has told us the body is a sinful prison for the pure soul. Blake just says, no, that's completely wrong.
He claims that the body is not distinct from the soul. He says that the body is a portion of the soul discerned by the five senses.
The chief inlets of soul in this age.
And that is such a radical, unifying concept. It instantly dignifies the physical, material world.
So physical experience, sensation, desire, they're not limitations to be overcome.
They're the very means by which the soul experiences the divine. They are the inlets of the soul. It instantly challenges any concept of sin rooted in physicality.
And this leads right to the second crucial reversal about energy and reason.
Traditionally, reason is the superior faculty, meant to govern passion or energy. Blake just flips that power dynamic completely.
He asserts that energy is the only life and is from the body.
So energy is the primary fact of existence. And then he defines reason not as a superior guide, but as merely the boundary or circumference of energy.
So reason is the container, not the content. It's the outline, but not the passion itself.
Exactly. You need the circumference to define the circle, but the circle only exists because of the energy inside it. And out of this comes maybe the most famous statement in the whole work.
Energy is eternal delight.
Energy is eternal delight. And if energy, passion, desire, action, everything traditionally associated with the devil is eternal delight, then the forces labeled evil are actually the essence of divine existence.
It elevates desire from a temptation to an ontological truth, a necessary good.
Which completely upends the morality of restraint. I mean, if desire is delight, why on earth would you restrain it? And this brings us to his incredibly sharp analysis of repression.
He argues that those who restrain desire do so because theirs is weak enough to be restrained.
I mean, that is such a fascinating and counterintuitive point. The implication is that true, powerful, robust desire, the divine energetic force, it can't be contained by petty rules.
So successful self-restraint isn't a sign of moral strength. It's a symptom of a lack of vital force.
You got it. The restrainer lacks the fire, and so he mistakes his own lack of passion for virtue. And then Blake says this restrainer reason, or the ruler, he usurps the place of desire and manages the unwilling.
That's the mechanism of oppression in his universe.
It is. The passive element takes the place of the active one. And the ultimate consequence is that the restrained becomes passive until only the shadow of desire remains. They become hollowed out.
This critique extends directly to John Milton's Paradise Lost, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Blake asserts that Milton, despite consciously trying to justify God, was unconsciously of the devil's party when he was writing about hell.
Because that's where his creative energy was free.
Exactly. Milton, being a true poet, wrote with this unrestrained imaginative passion when describing Satan and the demonic forces. That's why Satan is so compelling and vital.
But when he wrote about God and the angels, the forces of reason and law, he was fettered. He was constrained.
He was. His poetic genius, which is the energetic impulse itself, it flowed where the life was. And the life was in hell.
So the true artist, the true genius has to be on the devil's side, because the devil represents that unleashed creative energy.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
And the devil then offers this counter-narrative of creation. He claims the Messiah was overcome by desire and that he built heaven with what he stole from hell.
Wow, so the established order heaven isn't pure. It's built from repurposed stolen energy.
It's a parasitic relationship. And then he says the Jehovah of the Bible is none other than the one who sits upon the flames, the embodiment of passion.
So a radical movement starts as this fiery impulse like hell.
And ends up as controlling dogma, which is heaven. The moment the revolutionary impulse becomes the law, it becomes the new oppressor, and the cycle has to begin all over again.
Now we get into the heart of Blake's wisdom, the proverbs of hell.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, these aren't abstract concepts. They reveal the nature of infernal wisdom better than any systematic description. They're designed to be chaotic, potent, and just. Utterly subversive.
But like compressed nuggets of his philosophy, they're paradoxes designed to shock you out of your complacency. Let's start with the ones on action and passion.
We have to start with the most famous one, the one that directly assaults temperance. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom.
This is probably the hardest one for a modern, measured mind to really get. Blake is saying that true wisdom isn't found in moderation. It's found in pushing past established boundaries.
You can't learn your limits until you've experienced more than enough.
Exactly. Moderation is just a safe space for the timid. Excess is the prerequisite for understanding true boundaries.
And what about when we have that desire, that eternal delight, but don't act on it? Blake warns, he who desires but acts not breeds pestilence.
It's a powerful metaphor for the toxicity of suppressed energy. If that divine energy is restrained, it doesn't just vanish, it turns inward, it rots, it breeds psychological sickness.
So act on your desires or they will poison you.
That's what he's saying. And he connects that action to the divine with another proverb. Eternity is in love with the productions of time.
That really dignifies every messy, fleeting moment of human life.
It does. Our actions, our passions, our failures, these temporary things are cherished by the eternal. We're not just flawed creatures waiting for eternity. We are the beloved, vital product of time.
Okay, now let's talk about the provocative one. The cutworm forgives the plow.
This one is dark. It's often misinterpreted as a call for forgiveness. But Blake, in the context of Rintra's rage, is actually critiquing the passivity of the victim.
So the worm may forgive, but the power structure, the plow, the system, it remains unchanged.
Precisely. Forgiveness without demanding structural change is just passive acceptance of oppression. It leads right back to stagnation.
Okay, moving on to perception and truth. Blake really emphasizes how subjective our reality is. He says, the tree which moves some to tears of joy is in the eyes of others only a green thing which stands in the way.
This highlights the difference between seeing with the eye, the limited biological function, and seeing through the eye with the liberated imagination. The wise person sees the infinite, the divine energy in the tree,
while the fool sees an obstacle.
or a resource to be exploited. It's all about whether you can perceive the intrinsic holiness of life.
And this is reinforced by that incredible statement. If the fool would persist in his folly, he would become wise.
Again, you have to remember Blake's inversion. Folly here means the unconventional path, nonconformity, the dangerous path Rintra took. If the fool maintains his passionate conviction, refusing to submit to the easy paths of reason, that very persistence will force a breakthrough into genuine wisdom.
So conviction, even if it looks like folly to others, is more valuable than passive correctness.
It is, and the connection to imagination as the root of reality is solidified in two proverbs. Everything possible to be believed is an image of truth. And, even more crucial, what is now proved was once only imagined.
The poetic genius claims its primacy.
Exactly. Imagination isn't fantasy, it's the engine of reality. Proof is just the lagging indicator of a successful imaginative act.
Now for the most visceral attacks, the Proverbs on moral critique in institutions. The big one. Prisons are built with stones of law, brothels with bricks of religion.
I mean, that is a devastating summation of institutional hypocrisy. Laws designed to restrain create prisons, literal and metaphorical cages.
And at the same time, institutional religion, which preaches abstinence and repression, creates the conditions for repressed desire to manifest as commercialized vice, the brothels.
Yes. The very denial of natural desire is what guarantees the creation of vice. The institutions are complicit in the immorality they supposedly fight against. They're not solving the problem, they are creating a marketplace for suppressed energy.
And then he immediately assigns divine attributes to natural forces.
Oh, this list is spectacular, he says. The pride of the peacock is the glory of God. The lust of the goat is the bounty of God. The wrath of the lion is the wisdom of God.
These are direct statements. Pride, lust, wrath. They're not sins to be managed.
They're direct, inherent manifestations of God's own glory and wisdom. He's embracing the totality of existence. There's no aspect of vital, energetic life that is outside the realm of the holy.
And he adds the ultimate challenge to repression. The nakedness of woman is the work of God.
It's a celebration of the physical form, a total rejection of the moralizing shame imposed by priesthoods. And this dynamic is summed up so perfectly in the proverb. The cistern contains, the fountain overflows.
The cistern is reason, the container. The fountain is desire overflowing and abundant.
Right. And vitality comes from the fountain. And to conclude, he gives us the ultimate statement on experiential knowledge. You never know what is enough unless you know what is more than enough.
You have to test the limits.
You have to. And the final sharp command that sums it all up, damn braces, bless relaxes, curse constraint, bless loosening. It's the ultimate statement of liberty against law. So after establishing that passion and energy are divine, Blake then turns his critique to the historical origin of religious systems.
Right, he argues they're a perversion, a degeneration of an earlier truth. He traces it back to the ancient poets.
It's a fascinating creation myth for spirituality. Blake says these ancient poets animated all sensible objects. They named forests, rivers, mountains with the names of gods and geniuses.
The world was completely alive with spirit. Divinity was immanent. It was in the objects themselves.
Exactly. They were experiencing reality as infinite. They studied the specific genius of each place and assigned it its own mental god. It was a direct, vibrant spirituality rooted in tangible reality, not abstraction.
So if the world was animated and divine, where did the oppression come from? How did the priesthood arise?
Blake's diagnosis is just damning. The priesthood arose when cunning men abstracted these mental gods from their bodies, from their objects, and used these abstractions as tools to enslave the vulgar.
They took the vibrant, inherent spirituality and turned into an external controlling system.
That's it. They selected forms of worship from the poetic tales and then declared that these external abstracted gods commanded rigid rules and sacrifices.
And in the process, the core forgotten truth was lost, that all deities reside in the human breast.
That's his profound humanistic statement. Divinity isn't an external judge, it's internal, inherent, energetic.
To explore this power of internal truth, Blake has this memorable fancy, a vision, where he talks with the prophets Isaiah and Ezekiel. And he asks them the central question, how did you dare assert that God spoke to you?
And Isaiah's response is so telling. He said he didn't see or hear God with limited and organic perception. Instead, his senses, when liberated, discovered the infinite in everything.
So he concluded that the honest voice that is angry at injustice is the voice of God.
Exactly. True. Righteous passion and anger at oppression is the divine voice.
Then Blake asks the key philosophical question. Does a firm persuasion that a thing is so make it so?
And Isaiah's answer is a resounding yes. He says all poets believe this, and that in the age of imagination, this strong persuasion removed mountains. It's an affirmation of the absolute reality-shaping power of belief.
Ezekiel backs this up, defending poetic genius as the fundamental principle.
He does. He justifies his own strange, radical acts like eating dung by saying his motivation was the desire to raise others to the perception of the infinite. He critiques those who restrain their genius for the comfort of the moment.
Then Blake introduces this ancient tradition that the world will be consumed by fire after 6,000 years. But it's not a punishment.
No, it's a necessary purification. The end of the age of limited perception. The consequence is that the cherubim, the guardian with the flaming sword blocking the tree of life, symbolizing the law, will be commanded to leave its post.
And when that happens, everything currently viewed as finite and corrupt will appear infinite and holy.
And the mechanism for this is the radical surprise. This will come to pass by an improvement of sensual enjoyment.
A final, decisive hammer blow against abstinence.
It is. Sensual enjoyment, when heightened and improved, when freed from shame, will burn away the false, dualistic perception of the world.
Leading us to the ultimate goal, the cleaning of the perception gates.
Blake writes, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. The tragedy of the current age is that man has closed himself up till he sees all things through narrow chinks of his cavern.
The cavern being the mind restrained by law and reason. Blake is urging you to break down those walls and experience infinity. To really understand the difference between this energetic perception and the dull, systematic way we usually package knowledge, Blake takes us on another visionary journey, the printing house in hell.
This is a profound metaphor for the true, energetic process of creating and disseminating knowledge. It's the complete opposite of how a religious text is traditionally produced.
Through careful copying and controlled doctrine.
Exactly. Blake's printing process is organic, volatile, and full of raw energy. There are 6 rooms.
It starts with the roughest work in room 1. A dragon man is cleaning away rubbish at the cave's mouth.
The Dragon Man is that fierce, destructive energy you need to clear your mind of false assumptions, the rubbish of inherited belief. You have to destroy the old errors before you can build new truth.
Room 2 introduces refinement. A viper is ornamenting the rock with precious stones.
The viper is the application of art, craft, seductive form, shaping the insight into something beautiful and memorable.
Room 3 is where the mind expands. An eagle causes the surrounding space to be infinity.
The eagle is the highest visionary power, the genius embracing the boundless, the dangerous, the expansion of consciousness beyond reason.
Room 4 brings the passion. Lions angrily melting metals into living fluids.
The lions are the raw, fierce, energy-sheer, unbridled desire and wrath needed to fuse the artistic form and the infinite vision into truth. This is not a cool, rational process.
Right, it requires heat and rage. Room 5 has nameless forms, casting these molten fluids into molds.
And finally, room 6, where men receive these books and arrange them in libraries. This is the dissemination of that vital knowledge, meant not to inform passively, but to challenge and reshape the world.
And Blake follows this with the crucial synthesis of the devourer and the prolific.
Yes, this explains the dynamic necessary for the world to keep turning. The prolific are the giants, the energetic ones, the source of life. They produce endlessly.
And the devourer.
The devourer represents the weak, mild, cunning minds, those who resist energy, who create the chains, the laws, the systems.
So the prolific creates, and the devourer contains. But Blake insists the devourer is still necessary. Why?
Because it consumes the excess of the prolific. If the devourer didn't accept the surplus, the prolific would choke itself. They're interdependent, but they must be enemies.
And here's his core critique of institutional religion. Anyone who tries to reconcile them seeks to destroy existence.
Because a religion tries to reconcile energy and reason, it's an effort that seeks to nullify the necessary tension of life. If they were reconciled, creativity would cease. The system fails when the tension is lost.
And God is positioned squarely within the active principle. God only acts at ease in existing beings or men.
Which is the perfect framework for his critique of Emanuel Swedenborg.
A contemporary theologian, a mystic. Why was Blake, a mystic himself, so dismissive of him?
Because, Blake says, Swedenborg only spoke with religious angels, and crucially, never the devils, those who hate religion. He was too systematic. He only saw one side of reality, the devourer's side.
So Blake's verdict is that Swedenborg wrote no new truth, only old falsehoods.
He says his work is just an index of greater works, Paracelsus, Dante, Shakespeare, the true poets who access the infinite without restraint.
He uses that analogy, doesn't he? Swedenborg is like an inferior carrying a monkey.
Yes, the monkey represents systematic wisdom. Swedenborg exposed the foolishness of churches, sure, but then he got trapped in his own system. He merely replaced one set of chains with another. He was holding a candle in the sunlight. His light was real but utterly irrelevant in the face of the infinite energy he failed to recognize. So we approach the climax of the text with a final dramatic confrontation between the devil and an angel. The angel symbolizes the ultimate failure of rule-bound thought.
And the devil delivers this core statement that encapsulates Blake's entire inverted faith. He says, worship of God is honoring his gifts in other men and loving the greatest men.
It completely shifts piety from obedience to a distant deity to celebrating human genius and energy.
And the angel, representing religious convention, is disturbed. He tries to cling to the one figure he thinks validates the established order, Jesus. He asks if Christ didn't confirm the 10 Commandments.
That question allows Blake to deliver his most radical reinterpretation of the Messiah.
This is where he flips the narrative entirely. He argues Jesus wasn't an upholder of the law, but its most passionate transgressor. Blake asks, didn't Jesus laugh at the Sabbath and its God?
He certainly did, by healing on the Sabbath. Blake continues, didn't he remit the woman taken in adultery, directly breaking the commandment and the law demanding stoning?
The destruction of the commandments just keeps going. Did he not steal property to support himself?
By utilizing the charity of others, Blake is arguing that Jesus ignored established property rights. And, most subtly, did he not encourage envy, telling his disciples to shake the dust off their feet when they were rejected?
He's systematically aligning Jesus' actions with breaking the very laws the church claims he upheld.
Which leads to the crucial synthesis. Jesus was all virtue and acted from impulse, not from rules.
So virtue isn't compliance. It's action born from unbridled impulse, the divine energy within.
Exactly. And the devil's conclusion is the ultimate repudiation of legalistic morality. I tell you, no virtue can exist without breaking these 10 commandments. True virtue requires transgression.
Wow. And after this explosive exchange, the angel, the symbol of convention, is finally transformed.
He is. The devil flies him into the body of the Son, forces him to experience the infinite perception he had rejected.
And the angel sees his eternal destiny, 7 brick houses, cages. Inside are monkeys chained, devouring the weak. What do they represent?
They represent reason and analytical thought, sterile and competitive when divorced from impulse. It's the cannibalistic nature of reason when it lacks the life-giving energy of desire.
And when they emerge from the vision, the angel is carrying a skeleton, which becomes Aristotle's analytics.
The sterile skeleton, the dead-end product of a mind that has devoured its own vitality in the pursuit of a rigid system. The angel is forced to confront the life-draining nature of pure reason.
And they part with that final motto, bringing us full circle. Opposition is true friendship.
The tension is necessary. It's creative. The work then concludes with the Song of Liberty, a final passionate rejection of oppressive systems. France, rend down thy dungeon. Golden Spain, break the bars of old Rome.
It's the battle between the jealous king reason, law, and the fiery sun, impulse, liberty. The song ends with empire is no more, and now the lion and wolf shall cease.
And the final foundational truth, delivered by the chorus, is the antidote to the priestly curse. Let the priests of the Raven of Dawn no longer curse the sons of joy, for everything that lives is holy.
What an extraordinary deep dive. We started with Blake's radical rejection of the dichotomy between good and evil, realizing that progress requires conflict.
Attraction and repulsion.
We saw desire and passion redefined not as sin, but as divine eternal energy, and witnessed a complete deconstruction of religious authority. Laws and institutions, he argues, are built to enslave the mind, not liberate the soul.
The sources really challenge you, the listener, to examine your own doors of perception. Are you accepting the version of reality handed to you by the devourer, the systematic mind that sees only the finite?
Or are you actively pursuing the infinite vision of the prolific, embracing the reality that every living thing is holy?
Blake insists that the vitality of life we perceive is a result of that necessary, continuous, and fierce tension between these two forces.
And we leave you with this final provocative thought, built on Blake's assertion that the Messiah was a revolutionary who acted purely from impulse. If the greatest acts of virtue in history required breaking established rules, what unnecessary rules or restraints are currently hindering your own poetic genius? And what would happen if you ceased trying to reconcile the prolific and the devourer within yourself and instead persisted in the passionate action your deepest impulse dictates?